the system. Don't disturb this groove. Man, I used to play this song for my lady back in the day. I say, babe, can you feel it? Did I feel what? Oh, well, then that disturbed the whole dadgum groove. Anyway, let me go ahead and get up out of here. 89.9 KMOJ. Today's RBN Throwbacks, the People Station. I'm Glenn Golden. Expect the unexpected, ladies and gentlemen. You can expect Zany K is up next. Then Q Bear. Get ready. The show does not stop. We pass it on and keep the music moving. You say it, we play it. Let's get it in. I'm headed to the ice. Make sure you have our app downloaded at KMOJFM.com. Download the app, press on the ice, and at 2 o'clock, I'll jump over there as well. But I'm telling you, at 1 o'clock, Zany K is up next, then Q Bear. And then in the morning, we do it again. And shout out to the entire staff and everybody out there. We're staying alive. I am out. You find yourself at the end of the rope? You tie a knot and hold on tight. Because ain't nobody bad like you. God bless. Peace. You got to be a leader, baby. I ain't hit the wrong button today. Hit it, band. Let's get it. Hey. I'm gone.
This hour of programming on KMOJ is supported in part by the following underwriters.
Hello, and welcome to Community Calendar. I'm Kim Haley. First on the calendar, here are some food.
KMOJ-FM and KMOJ HD1, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
89.9 KMOJ, the People Station. Twin Cities, is Glam Life Kim, and right now it's 2 after the 1 o'clock hour on Wednesday, April the 29th, and it is time for Minneapolis 360. Anthony Taylor, how are you, brother?
I am good, sis. How you doing today on this beautiful Wednesday? It's good to hear your voice, too.
Yours as well. You know what? Today is all right. It's not as sunny as it was the other day, but hey, I'm alive and I'm still kicking, so I can't complain.
Absolutely, and we still fighting and we still getting through it. So, and of course, we got to do this remotely because of COVID-19, but I am definitely looking forward to the day that we are back in the studio together. That's for sure.
Me as well.
So it's always a pleasure, Minneapolis. It's always a pleasure to be on the airs with you. My name is Anthony Taylor. I am the African American Community Specialist for the city of Minneapolis. Talking today with you, and a lot of our topics actually, obviously, have been over the last few weeks is about COVID-19, the pandemic, how that's affecting our community, our families. And today I kind of want to talk about something that I think is really not talked about enough. And that's really about isolation during this times with family and community and work, and also domestic violence that when you are isolated and you are with your abuser and you can't get away, we need to talk about both of these topics. And I've got two great guests to be on here to talk about ways that you can cope with isolation, how to deal with stress. And then also I have a person from legal aid, and I'll introduce him in a little bit to talk about some information and resources that folks can access and maybe some of the trends that she is seeing in legal aid. But always, as we do first, I want to give folks some quick updates on COVID-19 that's affecting our community. And as we know, it's still on the rise, Minneapolis. So the numbers are increasing on a daily basis. And as of today, there are 4,644 reported cases of COVID-19 in Minnesota, right? So out of those numbers, there's 425 are in Minneapolis. Out of those numbers that are tested, 13% are reported statewide to be African American. So that's 21% in Minneapolis alone. So we could continue to rise with cases in our community with our brothers and sisters. So we need to understand and still remembering about social distancing and being able to stay 6 feet away, stay home if you can. We also know, too, that Governor Walz has extended the stay-at-home order till May 4th. So be on the lookout May 4th to really find out what's next. If the governor is going to be able to extend that, he's going to relax some of the stay-at-home orders or what. But really, I think you need to pay attention to May 4th when Governor Walz addresses the state. Also, too, make sure that when you're going out, please, if you feel sick, stay home, keep your distance. And that's just very important, Minneapolis. These numbers are continuing to rise. We're seeing a lot of issues in our community with these cases. So we just really want to make sure that we're following and abiding by the 6 feet rule. So again, if you have to go to the grocery store, go alone if possible. Get your essential things. The stay-at order does not affect essential business. But also, too, the governor did allow some non-essential workers to return to work on April 27th. So a lot of these jobs are jobs that don't interact with public and they can't do their jobs from home. Just make sure, please, if you are in those factories or those jobs that allow you to come back to work, to stay safe, mask, do all the things that you need to do to be safe with those jobs that are coming back and being able to work. One of the things that's new too at Minneapolis is that independent contractors can also now apply for pandemic unemployment assistance. So you automatically qualify for an additional $600 a week from the state. So if you are a contractor, independent contractor, and you are experiencing some wage loss, please apply at uimn.org. Again, that's uimn.org, or call 651-296-3644. And you can press 2 to speak in Spanish for someone to be able to talk to you in Spanish. Also, too, starting May 1st, the parks are going to close down. So they're going to close all the parks down. They're taking down the basketball rims, their tennis court nets, the soccer nets. May 4th, the park board decided that because there's a lot more people who are not practicing the social distancing in parks, that they're going to some extreme measures to be able to make sure that folks are congregating in the park. And Kim, what's interesting about that is that it continues, and I know it's tough, but folks are out and about, and they're playing basketball and they're playing soccer, and that's problematic, right?
Yeah. It's unfortunate because, it would have been nice to be able to, hey, if you needed to go to the park with your family, just go have a good time. But unfortunately, man, some people mess it up for everyone. So now they're taking it away from us.
They're taking away the parks equipment. They're going to have some park ambassadors kind of monitoring the parks in Minneapolis. So just make sure, and again, it's not about enforcement. Just like with the stay-at-home order, police aren't enforcing and making people go to jail or arresting folks, but it's a lot to do with education. So come May 1st, the parks are going to look a lot different in Minneapolis. But I want to talk today, and I want to introduce my first guest. We have 2 guests today. Kasim Abdur Razzaq. He is from Abdur Razzaq Consulting. And also Anna Street from Legal Aid is on. But I want to start with Kasim. How you doing, brother? It's good to meet you.
Man, all is well, man. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. I thank you for joining us. Can you tell Minneapolis and the folks exactly what it is you do with Abdur Razzaq Consulting?
Yeah. So I'm a mental health professional. I've worked in the field for over 10 years in different capacities. But right now I currently run a company where we do individual, couples, family, and group counseling, as well as do consulting work for different agencies around diversity, equity, inclusion, pieces like that.
So you work with a lot of people in the community, and with this stay-at-home order in effect, what are some of the challenges that you are hearing from folks that you work with in community regarding isolation and staying home?
So really, there's kind of some main concerns that people are having. One is that people that have children, the whole e-learning thing has been a challenge. Part of it is because, parents weren't, particularly equipped. And I won't say every parent, but I'm saying, for the majority, myself included as a parent, was not equipped with just kind of what it takes to facilitate the e-learning online for kids. And so that definitely was like a big challenge. Of course, people's employment has been, dismantled. And so now we have like food shortages, people worried about rent, all types of concerns related to people's finances and just their ability to kind of take care of their basic needs.
Right. This is a lot of life events that take place that you don't know. This could affect you, and it's affecting people in a lot of different ways. So when you have all of these stresses and all of these difficulties, how are the mental health of a person affected by this? What happens to a folks' mentality when they're experiencing these difficult challenges?
So some of the things that people can just naturally start to expect is that, you know, your baseline for functioning is going to be different. So one of the things I was telling my kids earlier the other day is, you know, they were worried about, like, man, they're not being as productive with their online school learning. And I said, you know, everybody's baseline is off. And so it's really kind of necessary to just monitor, like, your irritability. You can be on edge a little bit more. You can be, you know, not as motivated, lack of motivation. Your interest level could be down. And then other people might kind of even swing the other way where they feel like a burst or a peak because of some of the isolation type stuff. So it's really just kind of trying to be present where your baseline of functioning was at prior to, like, the stay-at-home orders, and then how things might be moving, and really to be conscious that these things might fluctuate hour to hour, day to day, week to week.
And I experienced that myself too, to be honest, because it's day to day with my mood, right? And that's true, because I think when your routine and then you have these challenges come up, it really just depends on the day. Mm-hmm. So I understand that quite a bit. So brother, just talk about ways that people can kind of cope with some of the stresses as best as they can.
Mm-hmm. While at home.
Well, one of the things you said was vitally important, which is trying to establish a routine. What people don't understand, particularly for people who have the unfortunate experience of either being dismissed or laid off from their employment or being asked to work from home, the majority of Americans, we center our day around our work day. So that includes kids. So kids' day is literally connected to their school day. That's what they center the majority of their life around. So to have that disrupted, the first thing that is going to kind of be a challenge is that a person's day is literally in a new realignment. And so there's this readjustment process. And part of that is really about trying to establish some form of routine, whether that means what time you sleep, what time you wake, and then the activities that you do in between. So just taking a step to outline a basic routine for your day-to-day is going to be important. I even know some people who are, you know, they might have therapy appointments with me, and they're like, man, I forgot what day it was. Mm-hmm. And part of that forgetting what day it was, or days kind of blurring together, is really about not having a structured routine. And so as we kind of even start to look for life after, quarantine, is going to be actually really important that people try to align a daily routine as much as possible with what life might look like after the stay-at-home order is kind of out of effect. So that readjustment is actually a simpler process.
Right. Wow. And it is something, you know what, I do just kind of want to make mention too, that, man, families, check on your other family members, especially, or your friends, especially those who you know who are elderly. Because just as he said, you may forget what day it is. So sometimes they have medicine to take, and their schedule is getting off because they didn't have a reminder about their medicine, or they can't remember what day it was, if they took it, if they didn't take it. And even just with, kids, it's crazy that, we're, as parents, we're now having to become school teachers.
Absolutely.
And so adjusting to, working at home while teaching, and I mean, it can become frustrating. So just think about your tone, and, I know it's frustrating for the kids as well, because then, we may be irritable and raise our tone, and, that kind of affects the household as well. So let's just be mindful and try to be considerate of each other's feelings, and let's talk it out. I think communication is key.
That's absolutely correct. And Kasim, if you can just kind of expound on that too. I 100% agree with you with the routine. I 100% agree with Kim when she talked about checking in on people. Just explain how important that is to check on folks, and also too maybe spending all your time maybe on social media too. I mean, is that detrimental to folks as well with their routine? Can you kind of talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So just on the, like you said, so much, because we have so much time, in one sense, we can be on social media kind of to excess. And the reality is a lot of that is going as a download, which means it's information is coming in. And so you want to spend some time away from that. Again, this is connected to routine, establishing a routine, is have some time away from those things where you're not inundated with the day-to-day information or updates that's happening. It's not to say not stay informed, but it's saying, again, don't lean to that sense of excess. The beautiful thing that Glam Life brought up, which is like checking in on people, I would definitely, endorse that and take it a step further to say the first person you need to check in on is yourself. One of the things that people are not doing as much of that I think we all can do a better job of is kind of having self-compassion. Right now, everybody's at different places, and particularly I know for us as men, we like to present as strong and that we're doing good. The reality is that we're not at baseline in terms of productivity. Having that self-compassion to kind of say, you know what, I'm not going to get as much done today as I maybe would before the stay-at-home order. And then also people who are in relationships in the home, rather it's with your partner, with your children, doing frequent check-ins throughout the day to just kind of check where people are at emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, to kind of just check in, and then also give them the information of where you're at, because sometimes people in our proximity are needing things from us and we just don't have the capacity. And so if we're doing those frequent check-ins throughout the day, it's letting people know that we're there, we're supportive of them, but that we also might need support and we also might need time away in terms of breaks.
Yes, that's great.
That's excellent advice, and I think what you said too, and I love that, is being able to take care of ourselves, because if you don't have the capacity to be able to take care of yourself, you really can't help anybody else. So that is definitely, I think, something that resonates with me. We've got about a minute to go. I wish we had a longer show. Can you just talk about maybe a few resources that are available for folks in the city that they can kind of connect with?
Absolutely. Make sure that people are checking into the recast, Minneapolis recast. They're offering Ebony Adedayo. She's offering that organization, Recast, is offering opportunities for people to participate in healing circles, counseling, mentor services, all at the charge of the city. And so you can reach her at 612-708-8979. That's a great place to tap in terms of just finding out more information around what resources are available in the city. Masjid An-Nur, you can call there at 612-521-1749. Speak to either Imam Makram or Sister Arlene Elamine. They are doing food distributions throughout the north side. They've been extending lots of meals to families, and they're also doing stuff right now for, Muslims who are fasting to break their fast. And so they have curbside iftar pickups. And then there's all types there are some great webinars and just community forums to talk about mental health stuff and holistic practices. I'll be hosting one this Saturday, May 2nd, from 4 o'clock to 5:30. And so I'll be doing a thing talking about holistic health and mental health coping strategies for stay-at-home and social distancing. You can find that information at www.razzaqcounseling.com. There will be a link on there where we'll be kind of having a community gathering.
Brother Kasim Abdur Razzaq, I appreciate you being on with us today, brother. Please contact Razzaq at razzaqcounseling.com to get more information. I appreciate you being on today, brother.
Yes.
No, absolutely. Thanks for having me, bro.
Now I want to turn to Anna Street from Legal Aid. Anna, how you doing today?
Good. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm glad you can be here. We had Kasim talk about the challenges of isolation. And with isolation and the stay-at-home order, unfortunately, there's some domestic violence issues that come about. What have you seen some of the trends during the stay-at-home order regarding domestic violence?
Yeah, so one of the things that we're seeing right now is that there's an increase in emergency phone calls relating to domestic violence, but there's a decrease in the number of cases reaching the court system. And so what that tells us is that people are really only leaving abusive situations when it's truly necessary.
And with the stay-at-home order, abusive relationships, why is that a consequence of isolation?
So part of the stay-at-home order is that you have to stay at home. Your community is cut off from each person, and so abusers benefit from isolation, and it plays a huge role in their control over their partners and their family.
So realistically, I mean, you can't leave your abuser because you can't go anywhere. And that's just really one of the worst situations that anybody can be in. So if you're in a situation like that, what are some ways that you can get out of that situation safely?
There's a lot of options still open to people that are currently in abusive situations. The police are always available, and one good tidbit to have is that you can actually call the police. You can call them or text them. So you can text 911 and just know that if you do text, they can't track your location, so you need to include your full address in that text message.
So, and also, too, there's a domestic hotline number that you can call as well, which is 1-800-799-7233, or text LOVES, LOVEIS, to 22522. Now, if I know somebody, Anna, and they've been in a domestic violence, domestic abuse relationship, and I just really don't see them really trying anything to get out of that, how can I help my friend who I see in this situation?
Make sure that you're being an ally to that person. On average, it takes a victim of domestic abuse 7 tries to leave an abusive relationship. That means that they might not be ready to leave yet, even though that you're aware of their abusive relationship. You can support them by storing safe, important documents for them, or a stash of clothes, or a phone. You can set up code words so that they can text you or call you and tell you a code word if they're in an emergency, and then you can contact police for them. And one of the biggest things that was already mentioned earlier by Kasim is reaching out to family members that are isolated right now. Let them know that you still know they're out there. Wave at neighbors so that they remember that they have a friendly face across the street. And you can document any abuse that you see by taking notes or taking screenshots of text messages.
This is
That's great information.
Topic.
Absolutely, Kim, go ahead.
Yeah, I just think it's just difficult because, I mean, I'm assuming right now, of course, I don't know how many like housing shelters or if there's, any, and I'm sure they're trying to keep it at a minimum. And if they, are housing people, they're probably not accepting many more. So it's just like, man, is it okay to, if, say, for instance, you had a house that's big enough and it's 1 or 2 of you, is it okay to take in someone that, could be dealing with an abusive situation? Is that, would that be okay?
It's absolutely allowed to be a safe shelter for someone who's leaving an abusive relationship. One of the reasons you can leave your house even during a stay-at-home order is to get safety. And there are safe ways to take someone in if you have the space in your home, even during this pandemic. So that's another great option if you have the resources.
Awesome.
To be that relief for people.
And absolutely, and that's a great point too, Kim. I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, if there's a loved one that's experiencing that, and I got 10 people in my house, so I'm probably going to have 11 people in my house because you just want to make sure you protect those. And obviously, with this time, you definitely want to keep 6 feet away. But I think what Anna is saying is be a friend, right?
Right.
Make sure that you have the code words ready. Make sure that you have a safe place to go. Make sure you got some spare clothes ready. I think for your friend, maybe a spare cell phone. Because what Anna said, it takes people 7 attempts, or the 7 or 8 attempts to leave their abuser. Yeah. Right? Is that correct, Anna?
On average, 7 attempts, correct.
Wow. Yeah, it's
Wow.
not easy.
It's not
One
easy.
other
People
thing-
in
One other thing I wanted to share is that legal aid is still open right now. We're taking cases for full representation and advice. So if someone is in a situation where they think they need legal advice about custody, parenting time, or even landlord-tenant issues related to domestic abuse, we urge them to contact us. And they can do that by going online and filling out an application at lawhelpmn.org.
Can you repeat that one more time, Anna?
Yep, that's law, LAW, help, HELPMN.org.
And is there a number that folks can call to as well?
Yep, there is a number.
But if the website's the best way to do it, I think, go ahead.
Yep, they can call 612-332-8151.
Repeat that one more time, Anna. Let's make sure they got it. 612.
612.
Go ahead.
612-332-8151.
Awesome.
And that is the number to contact legal aid. Anna Street, I want to thank you very much for coming on today with this information. It's been helpful. Hopefully people got a lot of information and ways to contact you if they are in an abusive relationship. So I appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank you so much.
And that was Anna Street with Legal Aid. We also had Kasim Abdur Razzaq coming on to talk about being able to cope with isolation. Kim, what's your thoughts on a lot of what was talked about today?
You know, Anthony, I love Minneapolis 360 and just you bring all the great topics, things that people don't even think about, well, and I'm going to, of course, if you're not in that situation, we don't think about how this could be affecting others. And so I love that you bring these topics, to light so people, can just, don't forget about your friends, your families, your loved ones, your neighbors. You never know what they may be going through. And yes, it may be difficult for you, but it could be more difficult for someone else. And so if you have the ability to be able to assist someone, to lend a helping hand, man, let's do it. So I just love the show. I thought you brought some really great topics. Abuse is real. It's serious. I mean, even kids are being abused. So don't forget about our youth.
Absolutely. And the thing about it is that these are tough times. But tough times don't last. Tough people do, right? And that's that old saying. But also, too, when I tell folks, too, that after this is over, and it will be over, these relationships that you have with folks will still be here, right? So you'll still have relationships with your loved ones and your friends and your families. And the best thing you can do now is strengthen those, right? Mm-hmm. So the check-ins, the call-ins, the FaceTimes, the text messages, and it doesn't have to be anything that's long and extended, but I always love a check-in, right?
Right.
And I think a lot of people always appreciate that during these times. So
absolutely.
I also want to just make sure that I let folks know that we are on again every Wednesday at 1:00. But just really quick, I know it might not be something that's in the forefront of our heads, but it is also census time in the U.S. And I know it kind of takes a backseat to a lot of the problems and the issues that we are dealing with that's immediate. But also, too, think about this, too, Minneapolis, that when this pandemic is over, these still programs that will or will not be funded or cut if we're not filling out the census. So I want to make sure people are able to fill their census out. I know a lot of folks received their census in the mail last week. Some of them are getting them now. You can do it online as well. But I just want to make sure, too, and I know it's tough, but we still have to make sure that we fill out that census. So you can also go to take the census on your own at 2020census.gov. Again, that's 2020census.gov. And I know it's not on the top list of priority things, but still make sure that you kind of get that and make sure you fill out the census.
Yes, if you did not receive one, go to the website, 2020census.gov, and you can fill it out there. You don't even have to receive the paper in the mail. Because I know some people have been like, well, I didn't get it yet, or
Yep.
You don't have to wait for it. Just go on
You don't
the
have
website.
to. Absolutely. Go on the website and get it. Kim, it's always a pleasure
Same
to
here,
be with
Anthony.
you at 1 o'clock. I appreciate you in more ways than you ever know, and I want to make sure that folks are getting informed. So I will see you next week. This is Anthony Taylor. This is Minneapolis 360. See you next Wednesday.
All right, Twin Cities. Glam Life Kim signing out. On the way up next, Zany K. It's the vibe, y'all. It's 89.9 KMOJ, the People Station. Today's R&B and throwbacks.